I have to stand by with my elderly parents and watch both of them die a painful death and feel helpless at not being able to do anything about it. We are not here in search of pity. My brothers would have hated that. Instead, let their deaths not be in vain, but rather a catalyst for education and inspiration. You can make a difference by signing donor cards, encouraging others to sign donor cards, and find the means and ways to increase our donor rate. And we understand why you couldn't be here today. We'll leave it. About 2 months ago, while I was in the Toronto hospital myself, receiving my second liver transplant, 3 people on my floor died within 10 days as well. Ontario's rate of cadaveric organ donation has been very bad for many years now, and the demand for organs grows every year. Step by Step has claimed for the past 8 years is that our claim for the past 8 years is that Ontario has the potential to save everyone on the waiting list. For the past 8 years, Step by Step has brought this issue to the forefront in Ontario as well as the rest of Canada. We have many achievements to prove this, including the creation of the present-day Trillium Gift of Life Network. For the past 8 years in Ontario alone, we have promoted the importance of organ donations in over 100 cities and towns. We created thousands of events and activities in these communities. Millions of Ontarians have heard our message and had received donor cards as well. From school kids to churchgoers to the ethnic community and people from all walks of life, we heard their voices loud and clear. They were in favor of maximizing the potential of available organs, and as well supported the Spanish model if that's what it took to get the job done. We have this information documented, and we're going to prove it. Premier McGuinty, I met you a few times, and I really think that you're a nice guy, but your assumption that Ontarians will not support presumed consent is 1,000% wrong. We will prove this in our report and documentary, along with a questionnaire, which will target millions of Ontarians. A true Ontario voice will develop as a result. Premier McGuinty, we challenge the Ontario government to debate us on this issue in a high-profile public format. You can assemble your team and we'll assemble ours. The public needs to hear both sides of this issue so that they can make a more informed decision on which system Ontario should be using and not presume what Ontarians think. The issue at hand should be the Spanish model, which partly includes presumed consent, versus the Ontario model. In the spirit of our great province, Premier McGuinty, please accept our challenge. Thousands of lives could be depending on the outcome. And to the Trillium Gift of Life Network, we challenge your decision not to recommend presumed consent. Questions were, why was Step by Step not included when it came to addressing the board on this matter? And what information did you base your decision on? And why was this issue of presumed consent raised as opposed to raising the true issue of the Spanish model, which should have been the real issue? The public is hearing half the story right now, and it's not accurate. Our challenge to you is to invite us as a credible working group within your organization so we can both share in meeting our mutual mandate and that is to save as many people as possible on the waiting list. This issue needs to become a top priority in Ontario, and that is why it is important to encourage dialogue at the water coolers and debate this throughout our entire province. It is our value system in Ontario that needs to get defined. And if we want to save everybody on the list bad enough, it can happen. They're doing it in Spain and other countries. Why not here? We have the potential. What could be more important than saving a life? I will now read the headline statement from the NDP, Ontario NDP Party, Peter Kormos, and I believe this release has been distributed, but basically the headline is, where's the McGuinty plan for organ donation? And with that, happy to turn the floor over to Barbara Fisher, and following her speech, any questions that need to be asked could be addressed to me, or if there's specific questions to ask Barbara, she's here to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, George, and good morning, everybody. I'm involved because I care. I am a past member of the government that in fact funded the Ontario Trillium Gift of Life Network to the tune of $120 million. In 1999, Premier of the day, Premier Harris, made that commitment to Ontarians to move forward on the issue. It was because of George's work that in fact that fund was set up. It was introduced in a throne speech and work began. It wasn't until about a year ago now, or maybe not even that long, that I met George personally, and it was through a friend that said, this is a person you need to meet. I'm not here today as representing any political party. This issue doesn't have a political boundary, and people are missing that. What needs to happen is we need to move forward with passion and commitment to do what in fact the Trillium Gift of Life Network was set up to do. I've had the opportunity with George to meet with representatives of the network on 2 occasions. Prior to George going to Europe on his own expense with the support of the media network, we met with Trillium Gift of Life, and we offered to do the research and help prepare the educational pieces that are necessary so that the public can become more aware of and perhaps move forward towards becoming donors themselves. That was declined. Instead, they chose to hire a research person. We asked to work with that person. That wasn't permitted. We asked to meet with the board, by the way of which there are brand new members on. What a time, what an opportunity to bring this case forward and start afresh. If in fact for the past couple of years they haven't been able to move forward in terms of increasing the number of donors, then now is an opportunity to do it with these brand new board members. That was declined. Instead, we did a statement last week where the Premier of the province decides for all of us that Ontarians aren't ready. Based on what? One would question that. So we're not here to fight about it, we're here to help. George's step-by-step is a very, very impressive, strong commitment that has been made by a person who's been affected. I really just am an assistant. There's nothing in this for me except for to move the issue forward on behalf of George and every Ontarian, and where possible, every Canadian that has a need for a donor transplant. Just so you understand, there is an audit done on the number of transplants that happens throughout Canada. Just before George went to Europe, the announcement on this year's audit were made. It's a sad statement when we have $120 million new into that organization since 1999, that there's a 0% growth in organ donations in the province of Ontario. The audit statement from last year says that. It's a sad statement that they can't see that we need to move forward, maybe in a different manner in which it's happening. So one would question where the money is and where it's being committed. To commit that they will make it mandatory that doctors, in fact, consult with the relatives of a deceased person is important. That can't be not. That's a step forward. But if that's as far as we've gone, in that amount of time with that much money.